Hello everyone and welcome to Melyn Talk Support Matchups. Today I'm going to be talking about Rakan. So Rakan is kind of an interesting champion because, especially when I was preparing for this video, I realized that there were some subtleties to his kit that I didn't actually know. So hopefully we're going to be able to go through those and explain them and make you aware of them as well, just in case you're kind of like me and don't read the fine print when a new champion comes out. Hopefully that's not you, but if it is, this should be good for you. So we're going to begin by talking about his skills in general, and then go to some laning comments and then some team fighting comments. Hopefully this is going to be a little shorter than most of my videos, but will provide better and more succinct advice. So let's begin by looking at his passive. His passive gives him a shield starts at every 40 seconds and it goes down based on level, of course. And basically when he attacks you or damages you in any way, the shield cooldown is reduced. Honestly, this is not a big deal for Zyra in the laning phase. We're going to be poking him way more than the shield is up. Very, very small factor. Don't really worry about it. Next up is his Q. Gleaming Quill. These names though. And this Q, again, is very easy to notice, and it's not much of a worry. It's a very slow, short-range skill shot. You shouldn't get hit by it. You can stand behind minions, and basically, if he tags you with this Q, it gives him a heal, and it can also heal his AD carry or anyone he comes into contact with. If they run into him, it will detonate the heal early. So really, sometimes they try to use this for poke. Really doesn't do anything because you shouldn't get hit with it in poke, but it's something to be aware of if you're actually going into an all-in with this Rakan, that you should be trying to dodge this in any way possible. You can block it with a plant, you can stand behind a minion. In general, just these things are going to help. The heal is probably not going to make or break the fight, but if you can deny it, it's good, because normally it procs after 3 seconds, but assuming he's with his AD carry, and he probably will be, that can proc it early and heal both of them. So something to be aware of, but not a big issue for us. Now, the next thing, his W, is going to be more impactful for us, Grand Entrance. And basically, think of this as a delayed Alistar combo. So he can dash wherever he wants, and once he dashes, he gets a knock up after a second, and that's going to knock you up for a second. And a lot of times, I myself struggle with respecting this enough. If we get knocked up for a second, we're pretty done. That being said, even if you don't have flash, you do have a little bit of time to react and set things up. So say you have flash and you think it's going to kill you, just flash out of there. Don't worry about it. But if you don't have flash, then if you notice he jumps to you, first off, shame on you for being out of position, but maybe he flashed, or maybe, there's some other mitigating factor. But if you don't have flash and he jumps on you, set your spells up beforehand. A lot of times the best thing to do here, because you're only really going to have time for one spell probably, unless you're very, very quick, is you'll probably only have time for an EWW combo. If you can land that on the AD carry, it's going to make it so much better, because you'll probably still die, but it's going to be a lot harder for you to die, and you could potentially get a trade kill. Again, Rakan is very, very mobile, so do not waste your spells on him. If he is engaging on you, you're going to try to really quickly use your spells on the enemy AD carry. It might be better to use your ultimate in some cases, but I think an EWW combo would be better in this situation, because that will also spawn your plants. Next up is his E, Battle Dance, and think of this, the last one was kind of like an Alistar combo. This one's kind of like a Lee Sin dash, so he can dash to an ally champion and it's going to give them a small shield. He can do this twice with the one cooldown, so be careful about this, especially if his AD carry is a Zyra, because then the range doubles from 550 to 1100, and that is not a small range. This is a very big range. So that's kind of why the theme of this video is going to be, do not focus Rakan unless you know you can kill him. Do not underestimate his mobility. He's got his W, which is going to let him leap and knock someone up, and he has his E, which can leap to an ally champion. So he's going to be dashing all over the place. So make sure that, every spell you make, you don't go too aggressive. You don't waste your spells. You keep some spells for the AD carry, unless you know you can lock him down. Finally, his ultimate, the quickness. This is a charm. He runs around. Everyone he tags, he does damage and charms. And specifically, one of the subtleties I didn't know is that he gets a small boost of speed after he damages the first champion. So after he hits the first champion, he gets a small boost of speed. So if you can deny him from hitting anyone, that's good. Because a lot of times we'll think, hey, maybe I could tank this for the AD carry. Well, I don't think this, but some support players think this. Maybe I can tank this for the AD carry and we can, be good. But in this case, if you get hit by the charm, it's just going to speed him up even more to probably get to your AD carry even easier. So, if you're dead to rights, maybe try to split up from your AD carry. Think like a Master Yi ultimate, so that only one of you has to die. But in general, this isn't a big impact in the laning phase. It's more of a team fighting thing. So those are the basics of this champion and how each skill kind of interacts with Zyra. Now I want to make some comments about the laning phase. So Rakan, even with his shield and his heal that he probably shouldn't ever get off unless it's an all-in, even with the shield and the heal, he is very weak to poke. A lot of times Rakan goes Spell Thief or Coin. Spell Thief, of course, is the more aggressive start. Coin will give him a bit of sustain. Oh, I think they changed it, actually. I think it only gives health or mana and experience. I'll have to check that later. But anyway, he's very weak to poke. Doesn't have a lot of sustain. The shield and the heal are very, very small. So you should definitely try to punish him. Punish him with as many QW combos as possible. Always, again, as general Zyra rule, to make sure that you're saving at least one seed and probably your E for a counter engage. So, if you're poking him and he starts being aggressive, you want to have spells up that you can return it. And, of course, you're not walking through the minion wave to get to him. You're not leaving your AD carry to get to him. Typical Zyra things still go. But in general, you should be poking this guy out a lot. One of the main things you want to do against any engage support is to try to poke them out so that they are weak enough, so weak that they can't engage on you without dying. Again, that being said, you have to do this very, very intelligently, because if you try to poke them and you overextend, well, they're engaged supports. They're going to jump on you and you're dead. Which leads me to my next point. Do not underestimate his knockup. Zyra is very, very squishy. Think of this as a Leona. Think of this as an Alistar. You wouldn't just walk right into a Leona, would you? Of course not. You're going to die. So do not be afraid to flash if you think you have to. He can put out a fair amount of damage, and with a CC and his AD carry, it can very quickly be a dead Zyra, especially if you don't have exhaust. So make sure to show it respect, especially if you think the jungler is nearby. And I kind of touched on this next point very briefly before, is that he's very, very mobile. He has the knock-up dash, and he's got a double dash to an ally with a shield that is double the range if it's a Zyra. So, not to mention his ultimate gives him a movement speed buff, even if he doesn't hit anybody. So this guy's going to be all over the place. He's going to be dodging your spells. He's going to be getting out of the engage. He's going to make you waste your ultimate. So be aware of that, all right? Do not overcommit to Rakan. In general, you want to poke him out, but in the all-in, you want to focus the AD carry. And this last point for the laning phase is more of kind of a team fighting comment, but I'll include it here. We can use it as a nice transition, is that he can, with this mobility, of course, do not underestimate how quickly he can close gaps. So imagine this. He can flash, jump 1,100 units to Zyra, jump again to somebody else, and then use his knock-up combo. And in the span of, with the ultimate. So in the span of a very short amount of time, this guy can cross so much of the map. Do not underestimate it. In the laning phase, once he's level 6, respect it. Be ready with your flash if necessary. Also, if he does this to your AD carry, realize that the enemy AD carry can't follow up. No AD carry is as mobile as Rakan. So if he goes from really far away in the laning phase, you can punish him. You can zone out the enemy AD carry with your ultimate while using your spells to burst down the Rakan. And again, I say don't overcommit to Rakan, and now you're saying burst Rakan, Melyn. What's going on? Well, if he's using all of his spells to get to you, you have a chance of knocking him down. But again, he has 2 dashes, so he can always dash back, which is why the ultimate's back there. So it's something you can think about doing, which is what Rakan does a lot in team fighting. In the mid game, he's going to be engaging very, very frequently, and it can be very, very tempting, especially given what I just said in the laning phase, but laning phase and team fights are different. It can be very, very tempting to try to burst him. The main thing is if he's engaging from far away, his team is behind him. Rakan himself can't do anything by himself. It's the setup that he does for the team that you have to worry about. So if he engages, a lot of the times you can use 1 or 2 spells on him, you know, maybe a QW combo to take down some of his health. Maybe you can burst him down quickly, maybe not, but even if you can't, it's fine. But if you can use your E and your ultimate and your E plants to zone the enemy team away, then his engage is basically a suicide mission and nobody can follow up. So that's the dream. As Zyra, if Rakan is engaging, you want to counter the engage by zoning the enemy team, which is one of the primary uses of her ultimate. Less in the team fight stage, Zyra's ultimate's less used for burst and more used for zone control. Because if you can keep the enemy team out of the fight, then you just create a 1v5. 1v5s are pretty good when they're not your one. All right, so that's the general things for team fighting against Rakan. With that being said, it's very important that you don't clump with your AD carry. Because if you clump with your AD carry or maybe your mid laner, he can get both of you in the duration of the charm into the knockup. You're not going to be able to respond, and in that time, the enemy team can come and kill you. So it's very important that he can only engage on one of you. And if he only engages on you, you should be fine. Your team should be fine. If he only engages on your AD carry, then you can counter engage. It's when he can get both of you or all 3 of you with your mid laner that it becomes a problem. So in the team fight phase of the game, make sure you're spread out enough that he can't get you both. And again, this goes for a lot of engaged supports. So that's basically it. Rakan is kind of boiled down to this. Poke him out in lane, respect the crowd control and the engage, and don't overcommit because he's very, very mobile. All right, so those are the 3 things you need to think about when you're playing against Rakan. As always, feel free to discuss this on Discord or YouTube. Links are in the video description. I always appreciate your guys' thoughts. Thanks for watching, and may your enemies, especially Rakans, and especially Zyra, I hate that champion, may they feel the thorns embrace. Have a good day.